Making headlines tonight, Prime Minister Mia Motley gives an historic address to the Ghana Parliament. Barbados gets another favorable IMF review. The Education Minister addresses Frederick Smith's secondary fifth formers after last week's student killing. And coming up in sports, SMS and College win the BSAT cross-country titles.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC Newsnight, starting now.
I'm Shane Jones, leading the news at 7. History was made today as Prime Minister Mia Motley became the first sitting Barbadian leader to address the Parliament of Ghana. It was part of a working visit to the West African state, as we hear in this report from Kishmar Singis.
The links and contributions of Ghanaians to Barbados were recognized as Prime Minister Mia Motley addressed the Ghanaian Parliament. She highlighted the shared history and struggle for democracy, dating back to the days of slavery. The Barbadian leader sees opportunities for the two countries to build on their existing relationship and the building of what she termed an Atlantic bridge. To this extent, she announced the signing of two important agreements.
One, establishing cooperation for the delivery of assistance in nursing care to the people of Barbados, and two, a cooperation agreement between the Port of Tema and the Port of Bridgetown, recognizing that the logistics that worked during that iniquitous slave trade can work today without us having to bring the pernicious aspects of those logistics to bear. That the ships left the Gold Coast and arrived at the first port of call in Barbados in the Americas was something that was established long before us for 200 years. It is up to us now to make it work for the people of Africa and the people of the Americas.
Several business leaders are accompanying the Prime Minister on her trip to Ghana. Ms. Motley told the Ghanaian Parliament there are unique opportunities for investment. One area identified, solar energy.
Barbados is equally anxious to share with you in Ghana our expertise in the solar water heating industry. We take it for granted. Indeed, there is no house in Barbados that is built now for the last 40 years without a solar water heater. Barbadians, even young ones, don't even know that you can use electricity to warm water anymore. Barbados is number 3 in the world per 1,000 with respect to the penetration of solar water heaters. And I have had the honor to bring with me to Ghana one of our distinguished sons and pioneers of this industry, Mr. James Husbands.
Ghanaian MPs welcomed the Barbadian leader and the move to deepen relations.
She has demonstrated beyond doubt that she is a reincarnation of Yasantua. Her voice indeed is a rallying cry to do what we should have done the day before yesterday. She has related to multilateralism, the issues of climate change, and in particular, trade between Africa and the Caribbean.
Mr. Speaker, I believe as you listed, if it is within your power supported by this Parliament, you would have no hesitation legislating for Ghana and Barbados to be closer and even closer.
Kishmar Singis, CBC News.
Well, joining us now to talk about the Barbados delegation's trip to Ghana and put it into context is the island's ambassador to CARICOM, David Comishong. Ambassador Comishong, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Shane.
Okay, so how significant is this trip?
Well, you see me smiling, Shane. Extremely significant. This is a tremendous breakthrough. You know, Kamau Braffett says Ghana is our heartland. Barbados is a homeland, Ghana the heartland, because many of our ancestors came from Ghana. Ghana can be seen as the gateway to the entire African continent. It's a big country, 30 million people. It has a gross domestic product of $65 billion US, so much bigger than Barbados. So there are many, many opportunities Barbados is eyeing the African continent. We are in the process of establishing an embassy in Ghana. It will be in place before the end of this year. Next year, we establish one in Kenya. But Ghana is, comes first. And many opportunities, as you heard, solar energy, tourism, you name it. There's a very large delegation that went with Ms. Motley, private sector, Invest Barbados, the BIDC, ICB, Solar Dynamics, a nursing delegation, a Rastafarian delegation. So we are looking at all kinds of relationships with Ghana.
So you coming out of the trip, what do you expect these private and public sector people to come back with to bring back and implement in Barbados?
Well, already, the nursing delegation there is working on recruiting nurses to work in Barbados. So we are, in fact, already off the mark. Already, Ghanaian traders actually come to Barbados to export Barbadian water heaters to Ghana. So the fact that Solar Dynamics is there, I see immediate prospects. Minister John King has been pursuing ties pertaining to culture and the arts and crafts. So again, I see tremendous opportunities there for partnerships and synergies. The University of the West Indies is marketing its educational services to Ghanaian students. Already, Ghanaians are coming to Barbados to study. Of course, what we need, the embassy is a wonderful piece of infrastructure. If we could add that direct airline link, that would really be icing on the cake. That would set a wonderful platform for all kinds of relationships between the two countries. But and in addition, once we get that footprint in Ghana, we need to understand Ghana is the gateway to the rest of Africa. Africa has now established a continental free trade area. So any Barbadian manufacturer setting up in Ghana has access not only to the 30 million market of Ghana, but has access to the near 1 billion market of the African continent, and the IMF tells you that Ghana is one of the quickest growing economies in the world. And Africa, of course, many African countries are growing at very good rates.
Okay, thank you so much, Ambassador Commissioner. I wish we had more time to talk about it.
Yes, we need a whole people's business hour to talk about it.
All right, so the producer's listening. Thank you so much. Okay, Barbados' impressive progress in implementing its ambitious homegrown birth program gets another positive review from the International Monetary Fund. Head of the IMF for the Barbados delegation, Bert Van Salm, says the island has met all the program targets for September. He was speaking during a media conference at the Central Bank this morning. More from Lisa Lord.
In explaining what happens next, Mr. Van Salm says IMF officials are confident that Barbados can reach its 6% surplus target for a full year under the program.
This agreement is still subject to approval by the IMF's executive board, which is expected to consider the review in December. And upon the completion of it, the next tranche under the program would be disbursed, which would be about 48 million US dollars, leading to total disbursements of just under 150 million US dollars.
Mr. Van Salm says IMF officials are also very impressed with how quickly Barbados has been able to secure an external debt restructuring program. As a result, he says the island can expect some upgrades from international credit rating agencies like Standard & Poor's and Moody's when that program is completed by the middle of December.
And that sort of sends a signal to the whole investment community out there, whether it be foreign direct investment or people who are interested in buying bond or debt instruments, that Barbados is doing better and that it is truly open for business. So we think this will mark a very important moment, not just from the perspective of having lower interest rates, having a grace period for 5 years on this external debt, having a significant principal haircut, as we call it, so an immediate reduction of the debt. All of that is very important for the macroeconomic framework, but perhaps even more important is the signal that it sends to the global community.
Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strawn, says the confidence that is returning to the Barbados economy means that the 13% interest rates we usually paid on debt servicing has now been reduced substantially to around 6.5%. He says this means that many of the various projects that were stalled can now get going.
The reality is that the downgrades that we experienced over the last few years would have created a significant amount increase in costs for capital for any company that wants to undertake investment in Barbados. Certainly, we should not forget that when we took office last year, we just had about 5 weeks of import cover, and therefore there was questions about the integrity of the exchange rate. So therefore, our ability to conclude this external debt solution will create the space for a new level of financing for projects in Barbados. Confidence, obviously, within the investor community will be enhanced.
Mr. Strawn says Barbados is by no means out of its economic hole and cautioned that the country must stay on track. Lisa Lord, CBC News.